What makes her different isn't just her skill, it's the way she makes people feel seen, heard, and capable. Jacqui Maloney, welcome to the show.
That is quite the introduction.
You're welcome. So when our story involves other people, where do you draw the line telling your truth and protecting theirs?
There is this really grey, murky area around authenticity and vulnerability when it comes to storytelling. And what I'm seeing that I do not condone is this trauma dumping on stage.
What do you believe the world needs to hear more of right now?
Like if you wanted to learn how to become a public speaker, you could actually do that without ever coming to me. So there's so much content out there. What's missing is the story behind the humans who create the content.
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life from the Horizon Digital podcast recording studio here in Perth. I'm your host, Tracy, the founder of Design Studio Perth, and to celebrate the launch of season 2 of the show, Design Studio Perth is offering all our listeners a free brand discovery. So if you're an elite operator and you find yourself very frustrated with your current brand, use the link in the show notes below to book in a time to have a chat. Now, the Real Biz Life Chronicles is on a mission to become one of Australia's leading business podcasts, but in order to do that, we please need your help. So if you do enjoy this episode, we please ask that you like and subscribe to our channels below, or simply share this with a fellow business owner who is ready to take their keynote to a whole nother level. There are people who teach communication, and then there are people who live it. From the time she was a little girl, this woman was drawn to the stage, not for applause, but for connection. Acting became her way of telling the stories that often go unheard. It was never just about the performance, it was about the presence, influence, and impact. Today, she's a powerhouse communications coach, keynote speaker, and storytelling expert who helps leaders, founders, and entrepreneurs across the full power of their voice and deliver their message with unwavering confidence. Whether her clients are prepping for TED Talks, live TV interviews on Channel 7's The Morning Show, or standing on the pageant stand as a Miss Universe Australia finalist, she's the quiet force helping them step into their moment. What makes her different isn't just her skill, it's the way she makes people feel seen, heard, and capable. She has a calm, grounded presence that brings out the best in others. Whether it's in a room, on a call, or backstage before a big moment, people trust her. And while her resume is stacked, what really sets her apart is who she is. She's been described as a warm, caring, and patient person, like a guardian angel who sees and supports people in a way they've never experienced. One friend even said she probably commits a selfless act every day because that's just who she is. She doesn't just teach you how to communicate, she teaches you how to own who you are. Let me introduce to you to a woman behind it all, Jacqui Maloney. Welcome to the show.
That is quite the introduction.
You're welcome.
Wow. I'm just like, there's a bit of Tracy, there's a little bit of me, and then I feel like I know exactly who the rest of that might be as well.
Yeah. Welcome, Jacqui. I'm looking forward to our chat today.
I'm so looking forward to this.
Jacqui, for our listeners, perhaps you could give us a bit about yourself, a bit of how you got into the keynote speaking space.
Absolutely. I think you've touched on that in the intro as well. And I was that little girl who always wanted to be an actress when she grew up. And if you ask my mum, she said, all you wanted to do was be an actress on Home and Away.
Oh, yeah.
And for those of you listening, most of you will know exactly what that little TV show is, that little Australian TV show. Now,
Yeah.
I've auditioned for Home and Away twice.
Have you? Oh, great.
Third time's a charm.
Yes.
I'm going for it. I haven't stopped. I'm still very much in the land of acting and voiceover. We shot a short film just a couple of weeks ago, and it's just really important for me to come back to the craft. Come back to the thing that lights me up. Like where I learnt my skills from is exactly what I then translate into my coaching.
Sure.
So acting has always been part of my world. It's where I learnt how to tell stories. It's where I learnt how to have presence either on camera or on stage. So it's my makeup really.
Yeah.
And I've dabbled. I've definitely been that actor who's always had to have a part-time job. And it was so interesting when I started in the business space and I would introduce myself as an actor And you would just get that same response, oh, what have I seen you in? Or what restaurant do you work at? And I mean, I get it. It's hilarious. Insert eye roll. But it was still part of me, and I was so hesitant to take that identity of being an actor away. So COVID was really the catalyst for me. I was almost at mid-30s working full-time as an actor, and it's something that we all dream of because 99% of actors worldwide are not employed full-time. And it's a crazy statistic to think about. And when you think of the number of young children, young adults now, and they're just like, that's my passion, but there's no security in it.
100%.
There's a love and a passion for it, but there's no security in it. So when you're almost there, you're just like, yes, I've made it. Yeah. And it's like all of this hard work, all of these arguments I had with my dad about what it is I wanted to do with my life are finally paying off. So COVID just stopped everything. And it was this frustrating moment of I'm at home, kids at 17 were still packing shelves and making money at Woolworths, but I couldn't. I was no longer a desirable. And the weird thing is, what were we all doing when we were stuck at home during COVID? We were binge watching Tiger King on Netflix. Yep. We were reading books. We were listening to our favorite musicians on rotation on Spotify. These are all artists. And the worldwide said, you are not desirable. You have to stop doing the thing that brings you joy and love and brings in money. And so it was just like this contradiction. I was like, okay, great. Line in the sand, what needs to happen for me moving forward?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was sort of in that comparisonitis phase, and I was watching a lot of my friends, and you are part of that. And I'm just thinking, okay, there's these women that are making an impact and businesses and the money that they're making. Okay, sure, I've gotten to a stage in my career that is working for me, but it's not to the heights that I wanted. You want to buy a house, you want to travel, you want to have nice things. And even as a full-time actor, you won't, I mean, unless you're Chris Hemsworth and Nicole Kidman, sure, you can do whatever you want.
I went there when you said home and away.
Oh, yeah, on a home and away salary, sure. So it was that defining moment for me, and it wasn't until a business coach said, Jack, everyone's been thrust on Zoom. Business still needs to run. Teams still need to operate. Speakers have now had the physical stage taken out of the equation, but they can still present on camera. But no one knows what they're doing. There are still people who don't know what they're doing on Zoom, and here we are.
100%.
4 years, 5 years later. And so it was the start of how can I evolve? How can I continue to use the skills that I've built and a career that I've built for myself, but translate it into a whole new world, a whole new industry. And so that's really where I entered the space of teaching people how to have that confidence and that, exuberance on stage.
And Jacqui, when did you realize this sort of work was your calling?
Oh, I've always known that impact on stage, on camera, in the room, it's a moment for all of us who are in that speaking space or presenting space, podcasters, whatever. We always want to have that moment of being remembered.
Yes.
And I think even as an audience, we always want to go into something, remembering something. We're all struggling with this, that, and the other.
Definitely.
We go and see someone speak on stage because we admire their brand and what they've built, but we're also looking for something that they're going to say that night in that moment that we think that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And so I've always known that that's been an undercurrent for me, but it was COVID. It was that moment where someone said, you have skills that no one else has. And like I was talking about that identity before, it's just like I was always this, but how can I be this?
Yeah.
Who am I? Imposter syndrome came in hot and heavy.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh my goodness. I think we've all been there. Some of us continue to be there as we up level. It's that next iteration of us as individuals or in our careers. Am I ready? Am I worthy? Someone's going to find this eventually, and then they're just going to go, she's not qualified for this.
Yeah.
But it's always been undercurrent. I've always known that there's been this thing that I'm meant to do, And I feel like literally in the last 12 months, I've just gone, this is it.
Oh, brilliant.
This is it.
That's fantastic. A lot of what you're sharing I can relate to because I studied visual arts at school. I was going to be an artist. And again, when, I had no idea this is where I'd land up. But when you do say to someone, I'm an artist, they kind of get that, baked beans on toast, or can you paint me nude, or for $50.
I could, but I'm not going to.
Precisely, and you're perf. So anyway. But COVID was actually the, I guess, main catalyst. I mean, I've always had a side hustle forever, but that kind of led me to, officially opening up Design Studio Perth. There was a real moment where I thought, what am I doing? And I think the world changed so much, and it made me realize that, just being away from that work environment, like all I needed was a computer.
Yep.
And I could work from anywhere. And July 2020, Design Studio Perth was born properly and hit the ground running. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, COVID.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for some things, but mostly no.
Yes, not the toilet paper situation. But Jacqui, I usually save this one for the end, but I wanted to ask it now.
Okay.
If I asked your younger self what she'd think of who you are today, what would she say?
You're exactly the same. No. I have photos. I've taken photos so that they're on my phone and I don't have to cart them around the world with me. But I have photos of my younger 4-year-old self in a dress with one of those really tacky plastic microphones and those really tacky plastic guitars that we had that would light up.
One.
Yeah, I think we all had one. So I think I have moments where I chat to that younger self. What do you need? I'm getting really frustrated with what I want. Just tell me what I'm meant to do. Tell me what you want me to do. And it's quite often when you can quiet down and actually be open to receiving what's on the other end of that. It's just like, I'm really proud of you, and can you please just keep going?
Yeah. Because
as business owners, as creatives, we have these moments where we're not doing enough, or what's this all for, or what was I thinking? And you just need that inner voice, not the external, not the validation from others, not my best friend telling me how amazing I am.
Yes.
It's that inner voice that says, it took us a while, but we got here. Yeah. You had to fight really, really hard to get here. Please don't give up on us now. So, I think she is. I don't think she is really proud. And she says, we haven't scratched the surface yet. So,
which is exciting.
It is. And I really do believe that now. If you had asked me this question 12 months ago, I would have been like, okay, I just need to let you know I've been on Seek just in case.
Yes.
I've done that. I've just had a little look.
At least you're honest.
Honesty. Yeah, you have to be.
Yeah.
So, she's proud. She wants me to keep going. And she says, we haven't even started yet, Mum, so let's go.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a great reminder, obviously for business owners, but for creatives in general, because I find so many of us have a passion, but we don't quite know how to make a business or make a living out of it. And then, like you say, we go work in a restaurant, we do those $50 nudes, we do all sorts, because we have to, it's expensive to be alive.
It is expensive to be alive, my goodness.
Jacqui, you're known, for helping others find their voice, but who helps you, find yours?
It's a really great question. I have found the most incredible people in my life and in my circle in my 30s.
Yeah.
I often used to get really jealous of people who they had their gang from high school, high school best buddies. They're still seeing each other. They've been in each other's weddings. They're godmothers and godfathers to each other's kids. And I just go, I feel like I've missed such a vital piece of being human because I don't have those relationships from high school still. But when people say, I really struggle to make friends as an adult, and I just have the polar opposite in my life. I've made the most incredible soul-searching, adventurous friendships in my mid to late 30s, not even early 30s.
Yeah.
But I've committed to that. I've gone out there, I've done the work, I have networked like nobody's business.
Yes.
And I'm not for everyone and vice versa.
Yeah.
There are heaps of networking events that I've been to, and I think to myself, okay, well, that was a lesson.
Yeah.
These are not my people, and I'm not just going to do that to save face or,
No.
I don't want to burn any bridges or anything like that. I don't have time for that.
No.
I've got a really incredible inner circle, and then I've got a really great outer circle, and then I've got a really great peer or colleague type relationships with people, but I don't have 50 close friends.
Yeah.
Like I think about if I was to ever have like a bachelorette party or something like that, and there's like 20 women there. No, absolutely not. No, thank you. I'd be exhausted running around making sure everyone was having a good time. I'd rather take 5 close girlfriends and we do spa for like the weekend.
Yeah,
and I would
great
just like spoil them rotten. So yes, I have the most incredible group of friends, male and female. I would like to preface that as well.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the bachorette thing. So when I got married, I had my bachelorette party and there was, I think, 70 ladies there. So look, I've grown. I was more quality over quantity. My poor maid of honor had her work cut out for her. And actually, so that was about 6 or 7 years ago. And actually, reminders pop up on Facebook. And, I had a look at that photo and a lot has changed in my life since then. And sadly, my marriage has ended and, I've grown a lot and as life happens. And I had a look at that photo and there's probably 5 people, okay, family not included, that I actually have really maintained those friendships, just really like worked on those relationships with those people. So it's funny you mentioned the bachelorette thing because they're 100%. And I guess relationships are, it's a bit of give and take on both sides.
Of course.
And I reached a stage in my life where I was like, rather have, quality over quantity, Tracy, and really nurture those friendships moving forward.
Yep. And look, I've got my ride and die.
Yeah.
I have those people who, if I'm in trouble and it's not my mum when I'm here in Perth and it's not my partner when we live on the East Coast, I have my ride and dies that will drop everything and vice versa.
Yeah, 100%.
It, like you said, it goes both ways. And I don't have time to be that for 70 people.
No,
20 people,
not.
God,
It's
I'd be exhausted.
Might have started another business.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the people that keep me in check, and that's my voice of reason. And so.
And do you find those circles have changed as you've grown and grown and gone along?
God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different groups for different needs.
Yeah.
And it makes it wildly difficult. Like when I come back to Perth, I'm all over the place meeting different people. Yeah. I feel very jealous when people go, just meet me at this pub at this time, and everyone just comes and goes as they need to. But my friends don't know each other. That would be awkward as hell. Be like, okay, this is my friend and we met because we do this or because of that.
Yeah.
But I just love one-on-one time. Maybe I'm greedy like that, but I don't like to share. So
no.
Yeah, they're smaller, intimate. I'm actually getting to hear what's going on for you, vice versa. Yeah, that's what brings me the most joy. So it is. I mean, it takes up more time, but I don't care. It's quality time that I'm looking for.
Definitely. So, Jacqui, I'd love to touch on the, power of storytelling and responsibility. So when our story involves other people, where do you draw the line telling your truth and protecting theirs?
Yes. There is this really grey, murky area around authenticity and vulnerability when it comes to storytelling. And what I'm seeing that I do not condone is this trauma dumping on stage. And I can see you nodding your head because it's becoming more and more prevalent.
Completely.
It almost just feels like the more I can take you from rags to riches, the more credibility you will have of me that I can get out of the situation that I'm in. Or it's just like, look at me, look at everything that I've done, everything I've overcome, but I'm going to take you to the deepest, darkest part of that story. And then we sit in this space and we've got our audience thinking, I don't know how to feel. Maybe I've been triggered by something right now. Okay, I'm now dealing with my own thing. And then that speaker is off. Great, this is everything that I did to get out of it. This is the program. I've developed this so that you don't have to go through this, and then off they go.
Yeah.
And I love that you touched on responsibility. We have the utmost responsibility to take care of everyone we speak in front of. whether it's you and I right now or whether or not it's me speaking in front of 1,000 people. Now, if you're going to drop things that are triggering, are you going to follow up with everyone in the audience that you've now created a state for them? Beautiful friend of mine was at a speaking conference in Queensland a couple of weeks ago, and the MC or the host, there was no trigger warning before this particular speaker got up. My friend is a speaker, but she was in the audience for this participating. And this speaker dropped something around suicide.
Right.
And then they dropped something about child abuse. Sorry?
Yeah.
That's just
Double
not
whammy.
exactly. I mean, they were two separate speakers, one after the other.
Sure.
Halfway through, once that was dropped, my friend was now in a state because it had triggered something in her own life. She had to leave the room mid-speech.
Wow.
Because of what was coming up for her.
Yeah.
And then she had to console herself, she wasn't bawling her eyes out, but she was now, these speakers had put her in a state that she was not prepared for. And now she was in the bathroom and missed the next speaker.
Yeah.
So now that's her morning gone. She's had to go through her toolbox to figure out how I'm going to deal with this, how I'm going to continue to show up, how I'm going to continue to sit in the audience and be a participant because I've come all of this way. I've paid all of this money.
As you do.
As you do. And I'm learning. I want to learn from these speakers to better myself. But it has to stop. Tracy, it must stop. And people who teach this, I don't have time for. And that is a hill I'm willing to die on. But we are getting triggered left, right and centre. If it's not social media, it's not the media.
Yeah.
And then we come to these spaces where we want to be inspired and learn something. And then just because someone has told you, no, you've got to dig to the deepest parts of whatever to show how incredible you are that you've come out the other side. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
My rule is we must speak from the scar and not the wound.
Great advice.
The wound is too raw for all of us.
Yes.
If that is your story, I don't want you to, if you're speaking, if you are lucky enough to be paid to speak 3 or 4 times a week and you have to go to that place every single time, that's not healthy.
No.
And then you're in, lack of a better term, you're infecting others and causing this disruption, which, so look, passionate about it much.
That's great. I love it.
But yeah, I think we have such a responsibility. And then very quickly to your point about other people's stories, there is a right and a wrong way to do things.
Yeah.
I think if we can always speak from our best interpretation of that rather than reiterating somebody else's story, then it's very hard for someone to come back and say, oh, you were wrong about this or that's not correct or whatever.
Yes.
Own what you know to be true and then no one can question that. Or if they have follow-up, you have all the confidence in the world to say, this is what happened, give a context, what have you. But yeah, oof.
And so going back to what you said about, speaking from your scar, not your wound, do you advise people to speak from that healing journey more so than going from, 0 to 100 and going straight to the deepest and darkest? Is that what you would advise? Because I guess from a speaker point of view, they might want to educate, create awareness, but are you saying that that's almost too much when they do that?
You've got to think of the environment that you're in and speaking on this. If you're in a workshop and you've got 6 or 7 hours all day with somebody, if something does come up, there's an opportunity for that person maybe to come up to you at lunch, afterwards, whatever. There's space during the day. Or if it's something that you're coaching on because, maybe you're talking about topics like mental health or imposter syndrome or something that can come from deep trauma, then you might have the ability to elaborate. Take them on that journey, give them the tools, give them everything they need to come out the other side as a better informed human or inspired or wanting to take immediate action. If you have half an hour or an hour and then you're on the docket with 10 other speakers that day, there is no opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you are not a qualified professional, psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, you're not prepared for what's going to come afterwards either.
True.
So it's such a delicate line. We've all been through stuff.
Yes.
Completely. We've all been through stuff.
Yeah. Some big stuff.
Some big stuff. In those 2 sentences, I've basically told your audience everything they need to know. without going into any detail.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. What I've done with those big stuff moments is this and this and this, and that's what they need to know.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. I feel you on a level. I've been where you've been before. I know what rock bottom feels like. I know what pain feels like. I know what loss feels like. I don't have to tell you what that loss is.
Yeah.
I just need you to know that I acknowledge where you're at.
And I get it.
And I get it. And then here is how I've gone from my loss or my trauma. Don't need details.
Yeah.
Do not need details. Because even if, and I'm not going to give an example because we don't have a trigger warning on this, and nor should we. It's a podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
But even if we acknowledge that we've gone through something very, very similar, the details are different. The facts are different. The environment is different. I will never know intimately what you've been through.
Yeah.
But I've been through something similar. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. And now from my experience, this is my purpose.
Yeah.
This is how I've taken all of that and transformed it into something beyond my wildest dreams. And I'm speaking from personal experience here, which is great. And it is fueling me. And that's not to say I'm over it. Absolutely not. But it is that fuel that I need to keep going. And in those moments where I need to reflect or have a good cry, I will.
Yes.
But that's for me. That's not for anybody else. That's for me.
Makes sense. I've seen a lot of, social media posts. People are like crying and breaking down. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I love how you frame to rather speak from experience and what you've learned and what you did and what worked and what didn't. I think that's a lot more powerful as opposed to like rocking up with a snot nose and a face full of redness and trying to just dump it all on, on social media as a lot of people do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Thank you for sharing. Jacqui, what do you believe the world needs to hear more of right now?
What makes you you? There's so much content for free in your ears, on YouTube, in written form, on social media. Like if you wanted to learn how to become a public speaker, you could actually do that without ever coming to me.
Yeah.
You could try, but it's so much the same as if you want to develop your own brand. You could watch,
of course,
YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video, and you could do something fairly decent these days with all of the, the Canva. I mean, Canva's great.
I love it. Wish I thought of it. Hate it. But
Exactly. We all wish we were Melanie Perkins, but here we go. So there's so much content out there. What's missing is the story behind the humans who create the content. So if you're looking at getting a public speaking coach, and there are many of us, if you're going to shortlist us, we're going to teach you all the same thing.
Yeah.
We're going to teach you how to use your voice, how to tell a great story, how to have presence on stage. But what makes me the right person for you to pick, invest your time in, invest your money in over the 100 others that might be out there? Okay, so in my short list of 10, Jacqui, I love watching her content because it's really fresh and real, and it's not overproduced. It's not overproduced. It's not like this perfect videography setup and beautiful studio. It just feels really realistic. And if I was to even just recreate content like Jack, I could do that. Okay, now Jack's accessible. And then she speaks off the cuff and she maybe doesn't always have a full face of makeup or hair. I should say, okay, great. I can resonate with that. She's telling me that it's okay. There is a level of professionalism, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm making myself accessible as a human being. And then, okay, great. Suddenly we've now gone from 100 to 10 to 3. And then we might have a chat. And then I share openly about things that are going on in my life. Like I know some coaches might say, keep it professional. No one wants to know about your life going on behind the scenes. And I would argue that.
Yeah.
I would argue that fiercely because there is lived experience that I've been through that allows me to tell stories in the way I tell stories.
Yeah.
And if you're coming up and you're fresh into public speaking coaching and you're a little bit younger and you don't have lived experience like I do, well then, okay, suddenly I want to make sure that the person that I'm getting to coach me, I want to know that she's been an actress. Actors have been telling stories since day dot.
Yeah, precisely.
We have a very different way of telling a story than someone who might be an ex-news presenter. And that seems to be my demographic. That's my industry. So if I'm not sharing that, how the hell will people know to be able to make an informed and engaged or connected decision? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
sense.
if you just go for content and then content might breed followers and whatever, great. Okay. So someone else has got 10,000 followers and I've got 1,750 or whatever it is at the moment.
Hey, it's more than me.
It doesn't matter. It's not a competition.
Of course, 100%.
Because I'm going to get you a better result based on everything that you've shared with me and everything I've shared with you versus someone who is just pumping content.
Yeah.
There's no depth, there's no richness, there's no story behind it. So that is what I think we need more of.
And I guess what would your advice be? And maybe this is why people tend to go to that like trauma space, because they haven't really sat down and thought about what is it that makes them different. Like, what would you suggest our listeners do in order to figure that out? Because I guess if it's, your personal brand, and a lot of our clients struggle with what to speak about, like, should I speak about this or that? And I guess maybe people go to that trauma space because I think people can relate to that. Would you agree? Or
I think it's by default they absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I think we've been fed this idea that the rags to riches story is the one that we want. And there have been times where I've shared stories. I mean, I talk a lot about my acting background, and there's this 6-month window that I went to New York and studied with some of the most incredible acting coaches.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I share that story a lot. And I share it as an example of that wasn't a rags to riches story.
Yeah.
But it breeds my background, it breeds my credibility. It just there's so much richness in a 6-month block of my life versus the trauma, the this, the that. It has actual no relevance to my ability to coach you to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
So, but I believe by default that's what's happening. What I would recommend for people who are figuring out what it is that they want to talk about, I often say, if I could give you a microphone for half an hour and you had to pick one thing, what would you just chat about?
Yeah.
I'd chat about speaking, communication, telling stories. Okay, great. Then that's probably what we need to chat to you about. Once we kind of have a topic, then I would get you to, so my one-on-one clients, they have to do a story bank entry every single week. So what that is, on a Saturday, I will take myself out for a coffee or a glass of wine. It's my time.
Yeah.
It's a laptop, it's an iPad, it's a Kindle, or a Remarkable, whatever it is that you use if you're writing notes that way, or maybe it is a bona fide journal with pen and paper, whatever it is your thing. You have to enter something into your story bank every single week. So that is, this Saturday I might sit down and talk about our podcast interview.
Awesome.
Right? It's something that happened in my day, like what were some of the things that came up, interesting themes, interesting topics, something that Tracy mentioned to me. Okay, great. I might write that in my story bank. And then I thought, okay, great. I've got all the details out of my head and now it's on the page somewhere.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah. Then I've got a podcast interview coming up. And maybe that podcast interview is all about how to be a really prolific podcast guest. Okay, great. I don't need to give you my rags to riches story to get to there, do I?
No.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not taking my audience there. I can talk about something that happened just last week.
Yeah.
With all the juicy details because I've written them down. And that's the kicker.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, I don't know what my story is. I was like, have you written it down? Oh, no. Then I can't help you.
Yeah.
I can't help you.
Yeah.
I can't pull the best parts of you, the learnings, I call them sound bites. Like if I was to ask someone, what are the 3 things that you want to be known for? What would they be?
Yeah, good question.
What is that? What are those 3 things that you can keep reiterating in podcasts, on the project, in a keynote? We keep repeating them. That builds our brand, that builds our message. And
Definitely.
Then every time I hear that being uttered, I go, a very great example of that is Mel Robbins at the moment in her new book, Let Them.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear someone say let them, we're not even talking about Mel Robbins. It just comes up in conversation.
Yeah.
And where do I default to? Mel Robbins.
To Mel Robbins. It's powerful.
It is. So what are those sound bites? What are those things that you want to be remembered by? And then if someone listens to your podcast that you've been a guest on and they think they're on the bus, something triggers a moment.
Yeah.
They go, oh, yeah, I remember when Tracy said that in her podcast. And she said this. I'm going to try that. I remember it. I remember writing it down or making a mental note, but now suddenly something in my day has made me remember that moment.
Yeah.
So until we do the work, until we start getting things out of our brains and on the page, that's where the magic starts to happen. Yep. And you write a script or you write whatever it is you want to do. That's never going to be the last iteration that you take to stage. No way. There's an edit process, there's drafts, there's this. Oh, my poor clients, sometimes they'll have something and I'll be looking at it just going, yep. Nope, this. Oh, I'm ruthless. But they know that it's coming.
Yeah.
And I loved in your intro, you were saying you're warm and engaging and supportive and whatever. I am ruthless as all hell, and I will let them know it is tough love from me always.
That's good though.
I will be your number one cheerleader, but I'm going to push you to be the best version of yourself. So,
And I think that's what you want, whether it's a mentor, speaking coach, no fluff, no bullshit, just this is what we're doing. And just kind of helps you level up in all sense of the words.
Yeah. If I'm going to put you in front of 1,000 people, I don't want you to stuff up. So I'm not going to say that things are going great if we need to knuckle down and you need to rehearse more. Yeah. Or do we need to strip it all back and simplify the hell out of it because we've just started adding way too much and now we've complicated it. Worse for the speaker, worse for the audience. So I don't want you to go on stage and stuff up.
And I love what you shared about setting out that time in the week just for yourself to input a story. Would you suggest someone just chooses one or two kind of highlights from their week and enters that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why we do that is so it's out of our brains.
Yeah.
Because I think I've been guilty of it. You possibly have been guilty of it. And you're having a conversation, or maybe it's a podcast, or maybe someone's asked a question and you're just like, yeah, I listened to this podcast and oh my God, the name escapes me. Oh my God, I can't remember. It was Diary of a CEO, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, he said this and he has a book and the book's called,
Yep, been there.
You've not shared anything of value to anybody listening to that.
Yeah.
You don't know who the guest was. You haven't written it down. So when we get nervous, when this thing's right in front of my mouth and you saying before how some of your guests feel really quite vulnerable in front of the camera and the lights, when that pressure's on, all comprehension goes out the window.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. You walk in just go, yeah, I'm going to say that I've read this book and there was this quote from there that I love. And then you get there and you just think, oh, I've just started talking about a book and now I can't remember the name,
and it's
the author and the quote. And okay, great. That was just a big waste of everyone's time.
Yeah.
So when we bring all of that information into your story bank, they're your notes. That's where you get to come back to. If something's coming up and you've got to speak in front of investors, okay, great. Do I have a story here that would resonate with these hedge fund guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll need something way different. They don't give a crap, excuse my language, that I went to New York to study acting. I've got to give them something different that they're really going to sink their teeth into and just be like, okay, she's done her homework.
Yeah.
She knows what we enjoy. She knows the language that we use and she's really just cut through the fluff and given us something really juicy to consider. All right, level of respect, up here now.
Yes.
What I'm selling is almost besides the point, but the level of respect is there. But had I just continued along with the same story I share over and over again, they're just like, that's not for us.
No.
The story that I share on podcasts is not what hedge fund managers want.
No, of course.
Or VC.
Completely different.
It's got to be completely different. And each audience needs something different from you. So you can't. Maybe the elements of the story are there, or maybe I just choose something completely different from my story bank that people just go, oh my God, not rags to riches, not trauma-informed, not dumping, none of that. You just told me a story about something that happened last week. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It also sounds to me a lot more intentional, like living with more intention as opposed to just winging it and, pulling stuff out of thin air.
Yep. Because you just, you can see it happening.
Yeah.
You can see it happening when someone hasn't done the work.
Yes. Completely.
And you can see when people are on stage because their MO is I'm just going to wing it, which is just, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. I'm just like, if those types of people I get in sales calls and they're just like, normally I just wing it on stage and that's how I do things. I'd be like, okay, great. I wish you all the best, but I just don't think that I'm the right person for you.
No.
And I don't want you to be scripted word for word, but people forget that there's a process involved when it comes to speaking. You know, if we're going to do a show live in theatre and it runs for 3 weeks, we've spent 12 weeks getting ready for that.
Yeah.
So yes, I do know every word off by heart and I am ready. But when the lights go on, I get to play.
Yeah.
I get to bounce. And if something happens and I stuff up, I'm just going to have to catch myself because I can't press stop, delete, record again.
No.
You can't do that when you're live on stage.
Definitely not.
So when people come to me and say, I don't want to sound so scripted, I'm just like, okay, great. You're sounding scripted because you're not rehearsing enough or you keep rehearsing the same way over and over again and you sound like a robot.
Yeah.
There's just so much more to it.
I think that was something I underestimated. So, you know, had that idea of a podcast, threw myself in the deep end like I do with most things. But it's just that journey that you actually take someone on. Like it's, you know, you have your questions set and, you know, get your questions and roll with it. But it's really that journey that you take the person on the other side of the, we used to use StreamYard, now in person, which is much better. You take the guests on a journey, you take the listeners on a journey. And I really underestimated that in so many ways. I've been a work in progress the last 18 months, but there's a structure, there's a process. Like even the way I prep now for the episodes is so much different. So if you watch earlier stuff, you're probably cringeworthy. But anyway.
I won't hold it against you. We've got to start somewhere. We all have to start somewhere.
Yes.
And you're going to stuff up.
Totally. 100%.
If you can accept that that's going to happen, I mean, great. Let it happen sooner rather than later.
Yes.
I'd rather you stuff up before I put you on stage in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Then there's more of a buy-in and we've got more at risk here. But just, I mean, I don't believe that there is stuffing up. If you learn or if you know how to recover from that, it could be a funny moment.
Totally.
Or it's just like, boop, instead of everyone just going, oh my God, it's this whole giant hill that, oh no, I can't come back from this. Or people see it happening. That's why I'm never going to get on stage. I was just like, oh my God, the number of times I have stuffed up royally. I'm still going back for more. Maybe I'm a sucker for punishment.
You and me both.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Jacqui, I'd love to chat about the cost of being seen because I think I've seen that with my clients as well. A lot of them will hold back from sharing their brilliance because they're so scared and nervous of what other people think. And they can say they don't care, but I think deep down a lot of people do. Have you ever regretted being visible?
No.
No.
Even if I've had to apologize or follow up or something, you're never going to make everyone happy.
True.
Never. Even if you do all of the work, right? I want to be perfectionist. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Even if you do all your due diligence and curate things within an inch of its life, you're still going to make someone unhappy. You're still going to piss someone off or someone's going to have opposing views to you and that's okay. But I think when we try to over curate things and get us to a state where, okay, now I'm ready, it's almost too late.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I've had a couple of guests I've invited on the podcast. Like, I'm just not ready. And I'm like, you will never be ready. Just take a deep dive. Let's just do it. If you stuff up, it's fine. Yeah. But they just hold back. It drives me nuts because they're such brilliant, and I like to say elite operators at what they do, but they just hold back the whole time. And do you think it's just like a confidence thing, or what would be your advice to someone who is, they know deep down they've got a great story, they're great at what they do, they have so much value to share. And I think you hit the nail on the head there with, you said over curated. I think we have to have this polished video, polished speech, polished everything. Do you think it's like a confidence thing, or what would you advise someone who's perhaps in that space?
It's definitely, it can be a confidence thing, absolutely. But I do believe it's a mindset thing as well. And when people let go of this desire to be perfect and be everything to everyone, oh God, welcome to the other side.
It's so free.
Let's come have some fun, right?
Yeah.
It's this whole idea of not taking yourself so seriously. And that has been one of the greatest gifts I was able to give myself early on.
Yeah.
And I encourage my clients to go and embarrass themselves every day.
Yeah, that's great advice.
If I've got my headphones on, I did this. I was in Europe last year, and I went to London, and I was connected to this. He's a very, very good friend of mine now. I was connected to him purely from LinkedIn, and I just sent him a DM. I said, "We've never met, but you seem really cool. I'm going to be in London." He's like, "Great!" And so we met up, and he would say to you that he's quite an introvert, and I am not. And we were in front of like Buckingham Palace, and I was just like, someone was playing music somewhere over there.
Yeah.
And I was just dancing, and he was mortified.
Oh, was he?
He was mortified. He said, "I can't believe you just did that.
Oh.
I almost tripped over my own feet." But at the same time, who are all of these people to me, and vice versa?
Yeah, good point.
I was a tourist. I'm never going to see these people again. And for him as well, even though he lives there now, I mean, no one's going to remember that you did this weird little dance in front of Buckingham Palace. Great.
Yeah.
So I think as when you can get used to that, I mean, I've fallen on stage. I've stuffed up lines in front of some of the most incredible Australian actors we have in this country. And it's just like, I can either wallow in it and then go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that." They're setting up for the next take.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't have time to be embarrassed. I have time to go, "Okay, well, that one was a hit to the ego. What do I need to do to get ready?"
Yeah.
So you've just got to roll with the punches. And I feel like what people do is they spend so much time they're not in action. They're overthinking it.
Completely.
They're overthinking it. I'm over there doing it for the third time, having stopped up for the first two, fallen over on my face, being laughed at, done whatever. I'm ready for the next go. I'm not afraid of acting a fool.
Yeah.
And, oh gosh, if you ever saw me getting ready for a speaking event in my car, it is a full Britney Spears concert. The music is loud. I'm doing headlighters. I'm dancing. Like, I don't care, because that is my prep. And if I want to be the best speaker on stage, my runway is vocal warm-up, movement, having the car next to me looking at me just thinking, what the hell's going on? Because if I can do that in front of them, I can do anything.
I'm laughing because I do the same most Wednesdays on my way here. So I will have my notes that I go through, and probably look like a stark raving lunatic. But anyway, it's necessary, right? You get in the zone.
It's so necessary.
Yeah.
You think of kids. They just play without any self-judgment or what anyone else thinks about them. And it's such a joy to watch their little imaginations run wild. The characters that they come up with, the plays that they put on, the music that they create. And at some point we say to them, "No, stop, you're too loud, you're too this, get in line. This is your life for the next however many years that you're going to be at primary school and high school." And then suddenly we lose this creativity. And I just wish that we could embrace more of that and get back to that essence of who we are just as humans. And people need to remember, this is a conversation. It is a podcast.
Yeah.
But we're chatting.
Of course.
If I'm on stage, I'm chatting. I'm not lecturing, I'm chatting.
Yeah.
There is a level of professionalism always.
Always, yeah.
But if we just take this idea of, "Oh my God, I can't speak on stage. Oh my God, I can't do your podcast," and bring it back to its most truest form, it's a conversation.
Conversation.
Can you do that? Yeah. Do you have conversations every day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'm just going to put a microphone in front of you.
It's a great reframe.
Yeah.
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 Definitely. Thank you for that. I'm going to use that moving forward. Jacqui, what's the ugliest truth you've learned about yourself through building your business?
Ooh.
If you're happy to share, of course.
Yeah, let's go. It's come up for me in the last 12 months. You and I were sharing before we hit record that my partner and I, have been on the road for 12 months.
Yes, you mentioned.
Yeah, so we've been living this laptop lifestyle, this digital nomad life, and we left Melbourne at the end of April last year. So we are coming up, we've just gone our year. And it was very, very early on. And my partner, we were in New South Wales, and my partner had to be in Sydney for periods of time for work. And so it was just myself and the dog. Now, normally I love my time. Love it. I have no problems with me, myself and I the majority of the time. But this happened over a week. And we had just left Melbourne. I was so used to living in Fitzroy, the hub of activity. Even if I wasn't seeing friends, I'd be seeing the same barista at the cafe every single day. They knew my name. We would chat about what was going on for them. So for me, that connection was so important. And when that was taken away from me, it was almost like I lost a limb.
Yeah, wow.
I never thought I'd struggled with my mental health before, but that was it for me. And it was just this realization of, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I needed people as much as what I did.
Yeah.
And whether or not that sounds needy or
Not at
whatever,
all.
I don't
human.
believe so. I think it's very human. And so it was in that moment that I thought, okay, great. Everything I thought was okay is not. And what do I need to do to snap out of this? Because it was awful. Phone calls weren't cutting it. Zoom wasn't cutting it.
Yeah.
I needed in person, in the flesh, physical touch, whatever.
Interaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely my love language. Is I love a good hug.
Yeah.
I love a good hug. And you're letting go first, not me. That's the rule. And there is such a thing as a Jacqui hug, and it's famous.
Right.
So I don't know. There was this ugly truth of I had always thought of myself as incredibly independent. And yes, I have a partner, absolutely, but I was still so independent. I didn't need anybody. And I think there was just some stuff from childhood coming up as well. Like I was just the eldest and I knew what I wanted and I went after things and I traveled and all this kind of stuff. And then in this moment, I was just like, oh, that little girl, she just needed a hug.
Yeah.
And it just came like roaring up for me. And I know that that doesn't sound as ugly as what some people might use or frame that term, but it was just this real big realization that, okay, I still need.
Yeah.
I still have a want and a desire to be around other humans because for me, that connection just feeds my soul on a different level.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think I'm a bit the same as well. I enjoy my own time, in the zone, but I always thrive on that social interaction as well.
Yep.
Has there ever been a time where you've helped someone prepare for a life-changing, stage while secretly feeling like your own message was falling apart?
Ooh, I often battle with this concept of I am the biggest cheerleader for my clients. I will bend over backwards. If I could be on stage with them holding their hand, I would fly all over the world to be able to do that. And sometimes I find it is a little bit there are moments where I'm asking them to do things and then I think to myself, hang on a second, you're not doing that. You're not advocating for yourself. You're not speaking kindly to yourself. So it feels a little bit hypocritical sometimes that that's what I'm asking my clients to do. And don't get me wrong, they're getting everything from me. It's definitely, I don't feel like I'm, presenting or doing anything differently, but it is in those moments that you think, hang on a second, I probably just need to take a little bit of my own medicine right now.
Yeah.
And so it has been an active choice quite recently to be more kind. And to go even harder on, people call it their brag book or whatever. It's just like, great, do you have a folder that has beautifully written things about you?
So important.
And it's not just your Google reviews or, your LinkedIn testimonials or recommendations. It's actually like maybe it's a screenshot from a client and you're just like, oh, okay, great. If I'm telling them to do something, I probably need to take a spoonful of sugar and do the same thing.
Yeah, I did the same. I won't say what mine's called. You have a very, much nicer word for your one. But yeah, just any positive, if sometimes I get a message about someone who's found the podcast, or it might just be, someone shared a really nice message or they've, been at an event or whatever the case may be, and just screenshot and save it. It's just on those tough days, it really just lifts your whole spirit, I find.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jacqui, have you ever taught someone to speak confidently while secretly losing confidence in your own voice?
I mean, I think we sort of touched on that in the last question a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the opportunities that my clients have gotten, are preparing for, there's part of me that thinks, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be there. I've got a client who's flying down to Sydney next week to be on the morning show with Kylie and Larry. This is
So
my
cool.
phenomenal. Phenomenal. This is my second client that I've gotten.
Amazing.
And I haven't gotten in the morning slot. I just want to be completely transparent here. I'm not helping my clients with PR opportunities. I feel like we've got incredible people in those spaces and that is their expertise. I'm just making sure that we're prepared.
Yeah.
Yep. Morning show. You've got less than 4 minutes that you're in front of camera.
Right.
That your segment is going to air. That includes the intro, the outro, and the questions asked from the host. So now we're talking 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes tops. So there's a whole lot of work that goes into that. I'm researching, I'm watching past interviews, I'm getting a vibe for how Larry and Kylie are with different interviewers. I'm looking at what's worked, what hasn't worked. And I'm sitting there doing all of this work for someone else just going, I'd like to be on set with Larry and Kylie. But what would I talk about? I don't have a book. I don't have an event. I don't have a movement. I don't have anything.
You've got your storybook that you enter in every Saturday.
Yeah. I've got my story bank that I could talk about.
Story bank.
But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm asking people to do all of this stuff, all of this work, and it's getting results. What about me? So, yes, again, I sort of did have to take that step back and think, okay, everyone's getting all these opportunities. Now it's my turn.
Yeah.
I deserve to be on that stage. I deserve that opportunity as well. And I might not have a coach telling me that I can do that, but my inner coach is telling me we're absolutely ready.
Definitely.
So if you're asking your clients to pitch, we got to be pitching as well, babe.
Completely. I've been in the exact same boat. I'm like, you need to do a video, you need to do this, you need to like take over. And I'm just like, Tracy, you're not doing any of that. And that's one of the reasons I'm launching the Tracy Fryer brand, because I can't expect my clients to do these things and show up every day and all this amazing stuff. And I'm just like, still hiding behind something.
Yeah.
So I 100% can resonate and relate to everything that you're saying, because we can't expect others to do it if we're not showing up in that same way and stepping into our own power when we're trying to, empower someone else. So yeah, super important. Jacqui, what is one thing that you are most proud of that you've achieved?
Oh, one. That's
you can share
hard.
2, 1 or 3.
I remember being at a women's dinner in Melbourne, in St Kilda, a couple of years ago now, and we were just doing small talk with the person next to us. And then the host, her name was Rebecca, she kind of threw it out to the room and she said, what is something that you've learned about the person that you've just met sitting next to you? And I don't even think I had phrased it that way. It was just how she interpreted part of my story. And she said, I've just met Jacqui. And when Jacqui grew up, she did exactly what she said she was going to do when she was a little girl. And I really admire that.
Yeah, awesome.
And I just went, I am. I said I wanted to be an actress. I am an actress.
Yeah.
I'm not a former actress. I haven't left one career and transitioned into what I'm doing now. I'm getting to live and breathe and do both, and have built a life that I get to do that. And so that is just one thing I'm wildly proud of, because so often I ask that question and the answer is so different.
Yes.
It's incredibly different. You might get a few, I was like this growing up. I think there was like the trifecta of actress, marine biologist, doctor.
I was a bit the same.
Yep. I grew up in Perth, so marine biology just makes sense. And who doesn't love dolphins as a young child?
Yes.
So that was one. And then doctor, I think, because we just learned to play make believe, and we'd get the code and the stethoscope and the or the dentist with like the little torch.
Yes.
And we get taught as little kids like Band-Aids, or I'll look after you, mummy, if you're sick. So that was the trifecta for me. And when you hear other people just go, I wish I had done this, or I really wanted to be this when I grew up. And don't get me wrong, it was not easy.
Yeah.
It was not easy. This is so far from what my parents wanted for me. And I fought it for very many years. And I had to get out of Perth and go and show them. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend having a better base and confidence in communication skills to say, Mum and Dad, trust me on this. And if I get to 25 and it's still not working, sure, then we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to talk to them about these big lofty dreams that were so foreign to them. And so, yeah, that would be one of the things that I'm most proud of. And I think the second thing is something that's very, very current for me. And I wear my heart on my sleeve 24/7. And when I've gone through things in my life, I've had different experiences of sort of the same thing. It's happened twice now. And the first time I did not deal with it well. I did not deal with it well. I turned people away. The thing that I advocated for most was communication. I was not participating in that from my perspective. And so that felt really hypocritical, but I was angry. And then so when the second time happened, I was just like, things have got to change.
Yeah.
Things have got to change. And I never in my wildest dreams thought that they would change to where we're at now.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow along my journey so that you can see that firsthand and that's your choice, then please come along for the ride because it is magical and it is going to touch a lot of people in the most beautiful of ways. But that's the thing that I'm so proud of is continuing to fight for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jacqui, was it a sense of you just had this inner drive, or was there a feeling that you just knew like you had to follow your path? Because I'm just thinking of those people who might be in a job that they hate, you know, they wanted to be an artist, vet, game ranger. That was my trifecta. Was this, you know, they might still be feeling like within themselves that there's something calling them to do something else, but they're just not sure. Was it like a feeling or just something that you were, this is my calling, I have to do it?
I think at various stages I've followed a gut intuition. It was never obvious.
Yeah.
And like I've shared, it was hard. I mean, acting is not the career that you would ever want your kids to go into thinking that they're going to have, thinking that they're going to have job security and really great big paycheck and all that sort of stuff. So it's hard to follow your heart and having just, I mean, I was that theatre kid at high school. Anything I could throw my hand into the ring to be in the choir or part of the trio, and I played instruments and I danced. I did it all. Yeah. It was the most obvious next step for me is to take that on as a career choice. And I did what my parents wanted. And it was horrible. Like I was still a happy kid. I was still very well looked after and I had a great life, what have you. But I was going to uni doing things that did not light me up. Yeah. And I fought that and you just can't get rid of that niggling feeling. And so, yeah, it took a bit of time and a few different degrees and I just tried and like, Jesus, the heck's dead just from trying things.
Yeah, me too.
I can't tell you. But it got me where I needed to be. So to me, that's a sunk cost and I'll pay that back and it is paid back. But it was the trial and error to get me on the path that I needed to be. And again, still not smooth sailing. If anyone thinks that this is going to be easy for them, good luck.
Yeah, I think anything in life that is worthwhile is never easy. Yeah. Again, I can relate to what you're saying in that I studied visual arts and graphic design. At the time I thought, I wasted 5 years of my life doing this degree. You know, I'd done like religious study as part of it. And I was like, what were you thinking, Tracy? But with my business, it's all come together really beautifully. Like it makes sense now, hindsight, right? But at the time I was like, oh my goodness. But I think just trusting the process that whilst it might not make sense now, like, you know, 10 years, whatever, down the track, won't give my age away, you know, it all comes together the way it's meant to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you learn things along the way. Yeah. You know, if I had have been a public speaking coach at 25, I would be doing such a disservice to my clients. Yeah. It has been this breadth of life experience of going away and studying as an actor, of waiting tables, and you were kind of having to be a different character for each different table because they were bringing their own things in with them from the outside, dealing with disgruntled customers, dealing with overly excited customers and birthdays and them telling you that they hate something and you're like, okay, great, I guess we're dealing with that now. Yes. But I've had some incredible moments waiting tables. Like I've served celebrities before and I would never have had that if I had just gone, great, I'm going to uni and I'm going to do this job and it's going to pay the bills and I'll be able to buy a house and do all that sort of stuff. That was never my calling and maybe it never will be. Yeah. And that's okay. But I always thought, I'm going to be 26 and engaged, and then I'm going to start having kids at 28 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm turning 40 this year and none of that's happening. So
yes, the plan that we all think we're supposed to follow.
let go of the plan. I mean, it's great to have goals and you've got to set those targets for yourself. Otherwise, we just kind of float in life.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have incredible experiences and moments. But if there are things that you want, you've got to do your due diligence and save some money for a deposit on a house. Yeah. That just doesn't happen out of thin air. But yeah, it was just once I released the pressure of what others wanted for me, that was the change for me. That was the game changer for
100%.
me.
And you mentioned it earlier as well, because I did the same probably about 3 years ago, just kind of let it all go. It's been one of the most liberating experiences, and I find that it's pushed me to do things that I probably would never have done otherwise. Yep. So very, very empowering. Jacqui, what do you feel most people misunderstand about great communication?
That every person you speak to needs something different from you. The way I speak to you on a podcast is so different to the way that I speak to my mum.
Of course, yeah.
Right? It's different to how I would speak and engage a room of 100, 500. Everyone needs something slightly different from you.
Yeah.
We have to be chameleons as human beings. Think of it as if you're a solopreneur or you've got a small team. But when you first started, you were the one that was doing the coaching. You were doing the design. You were doing the accounting. You were doing social media. You were doing all of it. Think of it almost in the same way. And it doesn't mean everyone thinks, that's got to be exhausting. You're a different person to different people. No. Mm-mm. Jacqui is still coming through every single time, but is it a tone that I use that's different? Is it a pace that I use that's different? The way that I speak normally is maybe a fraction faster than what I am right now.
Yeah.
If I was to speak at my natural pace, this would be really, really hard for someone to listen to because you're just speeding through it and I get really excited and then after a sudden there's no pausing and then no one has any idea about what's happened.
Yeah.
And that's a disservice to people listening. And so they are the most important part of any speaking that you can do. And my greatest teacher has been my dad, and not for the reasons that you think. But my dad would probably have told me the same 5 stories 100 times over.
Sure.
He has no reference point for what he thinks I need to hear. It's his reference point is I need to tell this story and this is the most incredible story. And he just hasn't even registered that, does Jack want to hear this story? Is this relevant to the conversation that we're having right now? I've tested things with my dad and I've sat there with my arms crossed, looking in a different direction, not paying him any attention, and he will continue to speak at me.
Wow, yeah.
He has no reference point for who he's speaking to because the most important thing for him is what's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest lesson that I can give people, is that it's not about you. It is always, always about the other person, your audience, your boss, the person that you're having a job interview with. Because when people say, I'm nervous, or I'm going to forget, or oh my God, my hands are shaking, all I'm hearing is I.
Yeah.
And when we can take the pressure off ourselves and go, what does Tracy need? What does the room need? What does this recruiter need? They need me to answer questions and show my personality. Okay, well, I've worked on the questions. I've prepared for that, and they want to see me. So I should be really friendly and I should have a smile on my face and I should do all these things that would come across as me being friendly, because I am.
Yes.
I'm not faking it.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the room thinking, oh my God, my hands are sweating, or oh my God, I'm going to say the wrong thing, does that come across as friendly at all? No, that comes across as you're a bumbling mess and I don't know if we want to hire you now because that's what you've given us.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I don't ever want you to leave the room and go, oh, no, I'm so sorry, that wasn't me. Or I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to say that. I mean, it's too late.
Too late, yeah.
It's too late then. So it is always about the other person, and each person will need something slightly different from you.
Awesome advice. Jacqui, did you want to walk us through the work that you're doing for, I believe it's called the Rose Garden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I wasn't sure if we were bringing this up, and so I am glad that we're here, and maybe this is going to make a lot of sense to some of the things that I've been a little bit sort of alluding to in the chat. But part of my story is my struggle with becoming a mum. And I can say that that's been my trauma and that's been my challenges and that's been part of the story that I never envisaged for myself.
Sure.
Yeah. And to sort of put it plainly, I'm part of a club that no female wants to be a part of.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have to say the words. I don't have to tell you how it happened. I don't have to tell you any of that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that you can listen with empathy and an open heart and just go, wow, she's been through some things without taking you there.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Because it's dark and you don't need that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And so because I have struggled in this area, and as I said earlier, the first time that it came to fruition for me and that it happened, I was so angry. And I pushed everyone away and I didn't want to talk about it. Then the second time that it happened, you sort of thinking to yourself, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening again. Okay, what's the lesson?
Yeah.
What can I do differently? Because the first time was awful and I don't wish to repeat that a second time around. And then that's when I started looking into some counselling services and just people to talk to. And then that kind of progressed, and then I found out that there is this beautiful rose garden. And for those of you who are in WA, we have King Eddie Memorial Hospital, which is the Women and Children's Hospital here in Subiaco. And in 1989, the then chaplain, beautiful man by the name of Robert Anderson, I've literally just had coffee with him on Friday to let him know about all the things that are happening with the garden. So he took that space and he said, we're not doing enough for families who experience loss. And so this parcel of land was gifted to him. It's now evolved into something so much bigger. And at the moment, last count is there's about 44,000 babies interred into that garden.
Wow.
It is a part of the makeup of Perth and families who have lived here for generations.
Yeah.
There is history there. There is a lot of love there. There's a lot of hurt there, but there is a place that they can come and be. And I joined the committee I'm about to enter my 4th year now, and I took over as chair just last year. And with the most recent state election, we have been gifted a pledge of $320,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. Amazing.
Fantastic news. Yeah.
Amazing. There's been so much that I've wanted to do with that garden because it needs to evolve.
Yeah.
It needs to evolve with the times. It needs to provide more and more for the families of Perth. And so that is where I've taken my pain and I've turned it into purpose.
Yeah.
It has been such an incredible part of my journey and my grief journey and how I've learnt to process that. And so chalk and cheese from one to the other.
Yes.
And you know, there are moments that happen in that garden that you get to witness, and that happened on the weekend, just gone. And we had a morning tea in the garden, and I watched 2 mothers who had never met each other, just sit there and just talk. They have a similar experience, but very different elements of that experience. But to sit there and watch them be there for each other, having been complete strangers.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, oh my goodness, all the time, all the no's, all the bureaucracy, all the red tape, all the everything that goes into running something like this when it comes to state government and North Metropolitan Health and all that sort of stuff, it just makes it worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
And aside from what I do for a job, this is what gets me out of bed. And it's because of this garden that I am not afraid to go out there and ask. Because I think like sometimes you remove that element. It's just like, that garden means something to me. That's where my history is and that's where my family is.
Sure.
But now I'm asking for everyone, not just me. So it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. So when I walk in a room and someone says no, I said, why?
Yeah, good. It fuels you.
Yeah. Instead of saying, oh, that's okay. Yeah, I understand why you wouldn't want to do that. Now it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Tell me reasons why. I'm not angry, but I'm just great. I'll give you more options.
Yeah.
I can come up with ideas until I'm blue in the face. You might say no to all of them. I'm going to keep coming at you with different ideas.
Yeah.
Because I want this more than anything else in the world. because I'm fighting for families. It's not just me. So maybe there's a power in there, but I've really found the confidence in what it is, the vision, the purpose, and it's all coming through with the way I speak about it. So it makes such a difference when you have that intention behind whatever it is you're talking about. It's so hard not to take it seriously.
Definitely. And I can see you light up as well. When you speak about it, I'm like, wow, it's not this massive light that we have above us.
It's not the stage lights, everyone.
No. And Jacqui, just want to take a moment and celebrate you. Thank you for being vulnerable. And, you know, not everyone can take their pain and turn it into power. So, you know, that's something to be super proud of, and good on you for just, you know, grabbing it and moving forward and, you know, going out there and wanting to create this space for the Perth community as well. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Jacqui, where is the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
Yes, so LinkedIn and Instagram, it's where I play. I do just love to share, I guess, skills and content and things like that. And if you're sort of looking into doing some speaking training or want to improve your speaking, you'll get a lot of value there. But I'm very much an advocate of showing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise the content, like I said, you can get that for free anywhere.
Completely.
Yeah. What makes me different is me. And if I don't show you that, you'll never know. No. So if we want to connect, come find me there.
We'll definitely pop all the links in the show notes. Jacqui, one last question before we finish up. I'm just loving our chat.
I love it. Keep going.
One piece of advice that you could give our listeners, if there was one thing.
The world needs to see you. And don't think that world is the entire planet. Think of that as your family. I often think my family is my world.
Yeah.
And then I think my clients are my world. And then I think my social media is my world, or the rose garden is my world. Like if I can just condense it down into those little moments, then I need to keep showing up for them. I need to keep advocating for myself. I need to keep sharing my message, because if that's going to inspire one other person, then that's why I do things. If that's seeing two mothers talking to each other in the garden, that's why I do things. So we were talking about visibility and, you know, maybe people lacking confidence and showing that. Again, it's just take you out of the equation. The world needs to see you. Your community needs to see you. If you were to have an old school bricks and mortar store and you had 5 customers walk in, would you put a paper bag over your face to serve them?
Yeah.
No. You're not going to walk out the back and then just
run away.
Yeah, be on the microphone like a, you know, Wizard of Oz situation.
Weirdo,
be like, hi, how can I help you? No, you're going to show your face.
Of course, yeah.
With wrinkles and maybe your hair's not done. You would never say, get out of my store. I'm not ready for you to see me yet. You take that moment and you take advantage of that. People want you. Stop hiding. Maybe that's the advice. Stop hiding.
It's great advice. And Gospel, the video editor of ours, you need to make that into a short so I can play that to my clients like every single time.
Stop hiding, stop hiding, stop hiding.
And just to reframe of like, you know, it's not whilst we might want to, you know, present ourselves to the entire world, that could be a brand goal, but just kind of breaking it down. And I think that takes the pressure off as well. So great advice, Jacqui. Thank you so much. I have loved our conversation. I'm so glad that we could make a plan to have you on the show while you're visiting in Perth. So thank you so much for all that you've shared.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.